When you're playing against Deshaun Watson or Deshaun Watson quarterback team that you have to keep in mind on every snap, or maybe more than one thing?
Yeah, I was just talking to my guys, especially the DBs. It's important. They got weapons all over the field. It's important to disrupt them early on in the route. But I think the most important thing is how you finish plays with him, whether it be him holding the ball, trying to extend plays, Hopkins, all those guys running around trying to get open. So I think it's two things are important, pre-snap, and then whether or not we could finish at the top of routes.
Tyrann, you've been such a leader on this team. How are you preparing, especially the young guys, for the intensity and the step up in the playoffs?
His mentality, focus, coming in with a certain mindset. I think really that's what it is. That's key. Mindset. Can you see yourself making plays Sunday? I feel like we're prepared. We're ready for the stage. So it's all about going out there and really believing in that.
Aaron, along those same lines, I had an opportunity to talk to Armani Watts yesterday in the locker room. He was giving you a lot of credit for being in his ear throughout this year. What about Watts stands out to you, and then is he ready to take on a bigger role if called upon?
Yeah, for me it's about being positive. I think each guy in the locker room, they do certain things really well. So for me, it's just about me being that bug in his ear, letting him know what he does well, and we need him to do that Sunday. So I'm nothing more than a positive voice, in his ear.
Getting more specific, when you watched Houston against Buffalo, you saw how Deshaun could almost be the Houdini from defenders. Two people could come at him and he can slip through and wind around. So as mindful as you are of kind of watching what's going, where the ball's going and where you can help, what is kind of the key with him? I mean, obviously making tackles well isn't quite enough.
Right. I think, you sit down and dissect him, he kind of has that Russell Wilson effect. You can't beat him at everything. Some things he's going to win at. I think the most important note I can give is when you're coming for him, trying to tackle him, just to be under control. I think a lot of guys are out of control, and they tend to, throw one arm out there. And I think anytime you're dealing with a guy with that kind of ability, he's always going to make you miss. So the most important thing is to be balanced and be under control.
Tyrann, when you're evaluating an opposing quarterback, just kind of like in the player hierarchy, like who you guys think is good and all that, how much do you personally value that quarterback's ability to make stuff happen when it's not supposed to be there?
Yeah, tremendous. Like I said, I refer to Russell Wilson a lot because he's a guy that I played against a lot, and he's one of those kind of talents. You just never really know what to expect, especially anytime the best player on the field has the ball in his hands, you're in for a football game. So that's our mindset. Defensively, we understand that we got to disrupt his targets, but most importantly, number 4, we got to affect number 4.
So you see that he can run. You know about Carlos Hyde in the running game, and he had more than 100 yards. But then there's Duke Johnson on third down. So what does he present that when he gets those passes that can kind of keep the drive going?
Yeah, I think we're in a point in the season where formation recognition, who's in the football game. Teams are going to do what they do well. We're going to do what we do well. And it's going to really come down to whether or not we can identify certain guys in certain formations. Whether Duke could come into the game, where is Hopkins lined up, where is Fuller lined up, is Carlos Hyde in the game. So I think all those things will kind of help us narrow down what we could possibly get on a particular play.
I know coverage and pressure go hand in hand, right? The faster you get there, the easier it is to cover, so on and so forth. They're a team that gives up a lot of sacks, but you guys didn't get to them in the last game. How much did that really disrupt your game plan when you've got a guy, 62 sacks the year before, you sure were quite confident, and not having Chris Jones obviously contributed to that, but and Frank maybe was banged up a little bit, but how much did that disrupt what you guys want to do in the backfield when you weren't able to get to him last night?
Yeah, I think we played 90 plays in that football game. I don't recall them punting. And they went for it a couple times on fourth down. So I think ultimately we know we're in for a football game. And I think all week, Spags has been preaching, coverage and front. We have to be coordinated. anytime you play against a guy that can use his legs, extend plays, the front and the back end has to be one. And if you're not, he's going to make you pay. So that's the goal we got. That's what we've been practicing on this week. And most importantly, I think our mindset is ready for a 60-minute football game, possibly more.
You were with this team last year, obviously, and it's been a long time since then. How much reasonably, how much insight do you think, how much edge could you provide in maybe helping out the offense?
Probably none. Maybe a few coverages here and there. I feel like what we did last year is not necessarily what they're doing this year. And then they have a lot of different pieces as well. So, I think they're going to come out, do what they do, and it's going to come down to, really who wants it more.
Given the way that Juan Thornhill developed during the season and the trust that you guys all built in him on the back end there, how much does losing him change a little bit of the things you can do, maybe some of the aggressiveness that you can have?
Yeah, I mean, I feel so bad for the kid, man. He's having a great season. Like I said, we really leaned on him to make big plays in critical situations. We put him in tough situations, and he found a way to come through for us. I think collectively, we're ready to roll. I think we got a lot of guys that can kind of step up, fill in. We got a lot of similar body types back there, so we can move guys around. We can give them different looks. I think most importantly, it's just about all us being ready to go collectively, which I think, of Armani, Dan, Fuller, I think all those guys are ready to roll.
To piggyback off that, Tyrann, this past week, having that bye week, in what ways did that help whoever it is that's going to be stepping in for Juan really prepare?
Yeah, well, obviously it gives you a few extra days to kind of look at your opponent. I think collectively we've been doing a great job of really bringing everybody along. So even guys that have not necessarily played a lot of snaps for us, they study a lot for us. They give us a lot of information. So all those guys are dialed in. It's really about making those guys feel comfortable when they do go out there. And like I mentioned earlier, being a positive voice in their ear, I'm pretty sure they're going to hear a lot of negative stuff about themselves. So it's about being positive and affirming to them that, that they're ready.
Tyrann, LSU or Clemson next week, and why?
Hey man, yeah man, LSU. I think some years you can just feel it, and I feel like this is our year. Really proud of those guys, especially the seniors. Those guys weren't necessarily good, a few years ago, and to believe in themselves enough to get themselves to this point is truly a great reflection of LSU program, Coach O, and Joe Burrow. Huh? That boy could throw that ball. So I think we're gonna be all right Monday night.
You mentioned the similar types of bodies and everything, and how well you played. You went from being the team where the story was you were answering questions the first half of the year about you got to go trade for Jalen Ramsey. This team's got to go get somebody in the secondary to finishing in the top 10. Curious, when they're talking about all those things and that the secondary needs help, that serves as a motivator? Is that something that fires your unit up to end up being as good as you were when at one point everybody identified that as the weakness of the team?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, it was always in the back of our mind. We all got two ears. We all hear everything. But I think ultimately, collectively, we always felt like we were going to get to this point. We just knew it was going to be a process. And for us, we believe in ourselves. Like I said, we know what we do well, and that's what we're going to do. So, and our guys love it. So our cornerbacks love it. Our safeties love it. Even Fuller playing a new position. You can see that he's loving football again, and so it's been fun to be able to come into a room, see everybody committed to the process, but also to kind of be able to take a step back and see the progression as well.
Well, the last few guys will go Rob, Karen, Therese. Speaking of taking a step back, obviously you guys have a larger goal. What did it mean to you personally to get this first playoff win?
It'll be big time for me, man. I haven't really played in the playoffs in my career, so I'm excited to kind of get on this stage to be healthy, to have a clear mind, and to ultimately really have one goal, and that's to get to Miami and win the Super Bowl. So. Got a great opportunity, one of 8 teams that's playing this weekend. So I think the opportunity is there for us.
This is outside the lines. We know you as the Honey Badger. we hear you're the landlord. Is there another nickname going into the playoffs that we need to know about that, can kind of ratchet it up a little?
I'm not sure. Maybe somebody will make up something. Maybe I'll make up something. I don't know.
Tyrann, talking to former players, you really get a sense that like worst thing you can have is football regret, right? Like
Right.
you look back in your career, it goes so fast, and you got regrets about it. So as a leader on this team, like in the moment, what can you do to kind of like A, do you have like a recognition of that, and B, like what can you do in the moment to stave that off?
Yeah, for me, I was actually conscious of that this week. And for me, it's about, really doing the same things you've been doing, right? Like, if you've been coming to meetings 5 minutes early, continue to do those things. If you were one of the first guys out at practice during the regular season, continue to do those things, and it'll pay off for you. So for me, it's about, obviously setting the tempo, keeping guys motivated, but to also kind of, have this big picture view of, what's our mindset? What do we need to do? What do I need to say this week to kind of get us going? And but I think we'll be ready to roll Sunday.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.